Hey, Eileen, you got your cup of coffee?
Just tea, actually.
Oh, you don't drink coffee?
No, I don't like coffee. Strange fact.
Alright. So, in the previous episode, we started a story that we did not finish.
Yeah, because you love cliffhangers.
Everyone loves cliffhangers.
I don't know. They make me go, Hulk smash!
Whoa. Okay.
Been watching too many Marvel movies, sorry.
Right, so okay, just hold on a few more minutes. For those of you joining us just now, you probably want to rewind a little bit to the previous episode.
Yeah, episode 4.
So you can fully understand what we'll talk about today.
At this point in the series, we're talking to Martin Bourque, who's telling us the story we got in exclusivity.
Martin runs a collection service for recyclables in Berkeley, California. His facility is sorting the materials collected from residents and sending them to recycling markets.
He was worried lately because he didn't know where his plastic was going to end up.
Berkeley residents trust that their plastic is going to be recycled in proper conditions,
which no one is really sure about lately.
So he put a GPS tracking device in one plastic bale. You know those big cubes of compressed plastic? He wanted to see where it would end up.
And here we are, right?
Yes, pretty much so. Martin is having his cup of coffee, opening the screen, and, another day with no signal. The shipment had disappeared from the screen around 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so he thought it was probably that the tracking device couldn't pick up a signal.
Or that there was a technical problem, battery was dead, or the device was broken. Couldn't really know.
But suddenly, one day, bingo, it's in Hong Kong.
Hong Kong.
Kind of expected, no? But really, looking at recycling markets after the crash in 2015, everything was possible. But yeah, Hong Kong.
And there it is. And, clearly at this point, it's picking up a cell signal because it's got to still be in the shipping container. And so it can't see the sky, it can't see a satellite. So it's picking up a cell signal in Hong Kong about 2 weeks to get there. And it sat in that port for a few days. And then it went up South China Sea into mainland of China to another port.
Okay, I pause here just to mention that it's quite common for containers to go through different ports before final destination, or to be brokered on the way. That's why the data from the customs, or whatever you can get from harbors, is usually not very telling.
Well, I would disagree with that. You can still draw a few conclusions.
You have found something. I know you.
Let's just say I put my hand on 3 years of plastic export data in a European port.
Oh yeah? Which one?
I don't really want to tell. I'm not sure it's public information anyway.
North or south?
Benelux.
Oh, okay. Well, there are 2 main ports here.
No, stop. No, I'm not going to tell you.
Okay. 1 port in Benelux then. So what does it say?
It shows a breakdown per type of plastic scrap per destination port and exact amounts that were shipped each year.
Okay. And how much?
Let's finish Martin's story first, maybe?
Eileen.
Hey, now you know how I feel.
Okay. So where were we?
South China Sea, after the first stop in Hong Kong.
Oh yeah, right.
And then we could track it, and it went to a few other locations. It went to a primary sorting facility. At this point, we're pretty sure it came out of the sea container.
How do they know the bale came out of the container?
Well, from the GPS location, they can go on Google Map and see in satellite view what the area looks like.
Ah, smart.
You could see that there were sea containers at this facility, the shipping containers at this facility, and we could also see from the mapping, from the satellite imagery, that there were bales of plastic in a yard. But then from that place, it went to another location.
Another location?
Yep.
And probably went as open bales, or maybe they had even cracked open the bales and started to sort, and it moved from there to a secondary facility where it finally died. And I don't know if it died because of the battery or because they dismantled it or somebody found it, they crushed it. We just don't know.
So at this point, we have no tracking device anymore.
The device is dead.
But
luckily, it seems like this was the final destination.
tell me more.
So it's in southern China and in a rural community, in not a backyard facility, but in a pretty informal sector industrial area in a rural community. So it's lots of little sheds and shacks.
So not crazy rural, not crazy industrial.
But informal?
Informal.
And that's all you can see from the imagery, right?
Yep. But it's not over.
So we then connected with some partners through the Global Alliance for Incinerator Alternatives, and a colleague of ours who's a specialist on plastics in China went to visit the facility. But this was months later when she got there, and it was very interesting. She got photos of the location and got to talk to people there.
Wow.
Could see, basically everything was sorted on the ground. They had one washing facility. The water from that went straight into the river. There was no environmental controls on the washing.
So, just to put things back into perspective, plastic that was put in the recycling bin in the Western world is now on the ground in South China in an informal facility with no environmental control. Because that's kind of what we're trying to prove here.
So like they would take a bale of this plastic, probably has maybe 70,000 pieces of plastic in it. Everything from strawberry containers to takeout containers to yogurt tubs, all kinds of little things that just get in there like caps, lids, forks, spoons, plastic utensils, different colors. You'd have, clear, black, green, yellow, and each of those has to be sorted. So they're probably sorting into 30 or 40 different categories of different resins of plastics that can be put together for recycling.
What, 30 to 40 categories?
Yeah, so those workers have developed skill to recognize what kind of plastic they have in hand, which is quite tricky, to be honest.
Different colors of plastic, different grades of plastics, whether it's flexible plastic or really rigid plastic that has different kinds of additives in it. And so all that's being sorted just on the open ground with people squatting on it. Sometimes, to figure out what kind of plastic it is, they'll burn it, a little bit of it, and smell it, which is really horrific and very toxic.
What?
Yeah, you haven't seen this in the documentaries?
No.
Well, smell is a great way to identify plastic, actually. It's like, yes, you need to burn a little bit of it first, but hey, it's recycling. It actually reminds me of the old days. I used to do this as well at school. Not for recycling, but...
But that's the way that the categorization of some of the plastics is done. If they can't figure out what it is by sight or sometimes by tapping it, the sound it makes. And so it's very, they're touching everything, and it's all food contaminated. It's pretty dirty. It's got a lot of grime on it.
Ugh.
And so then that's being sorted into bags or bigger baskets or buckets. And then those get aggregated into, larger and larger either bags or gaylords or some kind of container. And then once they've got enough of one kind of that, material, then they'll put it through a grinder that chops it up into pieces that are, the size of a quarter or, maybe ½ inch in diameter.
That's about 1 centimeter.
And then they put that into their washing tub and they wash it and get it all nice and clean. And then they will dry it. And so then that dry, it's called flake, when it's all chipped and clean. And that flake would either be sold as is, depending on the kind of plastic, or it would be taken to a nearby facility where they melt that down and extrude it out into long strings. They look like spaghetti noodles. And then there's those cool, they get chopped up into tiny little pellets that are called nurdles, and that gets put into bags, and then those bags are then sold.
Wait. From those bags with 30 to 40 different categories, to grinding in small 1 centimeter pieces, to melting, to
spaghettis,
that are then chopped into small pellets.
That are called nurdles, and that gets put into bags, and then those bags are then sold. And in China, mostly that goes for low-grade domestic manufactured goods. You could think of like cheap kids' toys or hair combs, things like that. Semi-durable plastics that probably end up in the garbage pretty quickly.
Yeah, basically, since we can swear on the show, I would call this all the shit plastic that is really the last thing you want in your home.
Okay, so this is what Martin's colleague saw when she got there, or?
No, so this is how this kind of operation is running when they receive plastic bales. The thing is,
she's not seeing any imported plastic there. She's not seeing anything from the U.S. And so she asked them, well, do you get stuff, import grade materials? And they said, no, we haven't gotten that for several months. That market is totally shut down. We wish we could get that stuff, but we can't get it anymore. And, this was a big concern for us because, first of all, we had a facility that we felt okay about. It wasn't great. It wouldn't be permitted in California.
So here he's talking about the facility they were working with at the very beginning, before the market crashed.
But it at least had some water quality and air quality controls and decent labor standards. But now we don't even know where it's going because, our last tracker made it to China, and now somebody goes to look at the facility and they say, oh, yeah, we can't even buy that stuff anymore.
So that's one first thing to learn from plastic scrap markets in Asia. They are impossible to control. You think you know where your stuff is going, but it's changing all the time.
I see.
And what's happened in the meantime is while the amount of this stuff that we're collecting keeps going up, every month we get more and more of it, but the price of it keeps going further and further down. So we used to get $12 a ton for it, which is not very much at all. And then we weren't getting anything for it. We just had to give it away. And now we have to pay to get rid of it. And we're starting to pay almost as much as it costs to send something to the landfill. About $60 a ton to send garbage to the landfill in this area.
And we'll get back to this debate about shipping it to pseudo-recycling versus landfill versus incineration, because it deserves its own discussion.
Okay.
I stay on markets because then they found out their stuff is not even going to China anymore.
When we heard that our stuff wasn't even going to China anymore, that gave us great pause, because we know that in Southeast Asia, there are a lot of countries that don't even have the level of development and the regulatory context or infrastructure capacity that China has. So when you're paying to get rid of it, you're paying somebody to take your scrap. There's an incredible incentive for them to get paid to take that scrap and then just get rid of it in the cheapest possible way. That sounds to me like a race to the bottom.
This is fundamental. You don't need to be a Harvard economist to understand that if something is put on the market, has no value, actually the contrary, you are paying someone to get rid of it, and this negative value chain is not controlled, then you have a serious problem.
And we're talking about millions of tons every year.
And so that made us even more concerned. So we sent out another tracker. Actually, we sent out a few, but one of them succeeded.
So I stop here.
No, don't do that.
Well, not only for the pleasure of the cliffhanger, but also because there are quite a few conclusions to unpack. And I want to make sure we look at this with a constructive mind here. So first of all, if you are interested in tracking stories, we were invited to host a live talk show about this topic in a few days. A few partners coming together, and Martin may even be with us in person to tell us how this ended. So this will be in Brussels on November 6th. It's coming very soon. Link in the episode notes.
I can't wait.
Next point. Imagine, Eileen, a properly funded research program that could deploy all these trackers at scale.
Yeah?
That's it. Just imagine.
Not sure people want to know where their plastic stuff is going.
Something else I wanted to mention at this point. I'm hearing a few skeptical voices.
This is an American story. Who is telling me the same may be happening with the European plastic recycling?
Yeah, but in the previous episode, we shared some public numbers about all that plastic that's going to Asia.
Right.
And in case that's not enough, maybe now's a good moment to share some of the figures I got from this port in Benelux that I can't name.
Please.
Well, thanks to our in-house spreadsheet consolidation capabilities, we can say that,
Drum roll.
out of all the destinations for exported plastic scraps, almost 60% was going to China,
Surprise.
18% to Hong Kong,
And that's probably before going to some other port.
and if you sum China and Hong Kong, it's more than 250,000 tons of plastic just for 2016, and just from that one port in Benelux. So I'll let you imagine. And then smaller percentages go to Vietnam, Malaysia, India, less than 5% each time.
Okay, so would it be safe to say that our plastic scraps probably receive the same treatment as Martin's plastic bales?
Yeah, it definitely would. I don't know why it would be any different.
So, okay, the only thing that matters is what's in the container. If it's in a container to Asia, first of all, it's that it makes financial sense to send it over there. If it is clean material and is a valuable type of plastic on Asian markets, it will probably get recycled in some way.
Downcycled, actually.
Right, but impossible to know how, where, in what conditions, following what standards, etc. If it's not that clean and valuable, then first of all, you're probably paying to get rid of it rather than selling it for a good price. And secondly, you can imagine what happens to it when it reaches Asian megacities, where they won't know what to do with it.
That's the part you see in the documentaries and YouTube videos.
So take all that plastic that has no value whatsoever and that we basically dump on Asian waste markets every year. Add all the low-grade plastic that other Western countries send over there. Add up all of the post-consumer plastic scraps produced within those Asian countries.
By their own population, you mean?
Right. You get millions and millions of tons of plastic every year that recyclers don't want, that informal waste pickers don't want, and...
Wouldn't that correspond to the millions of tons ending up in the ocean every year from those 5 Asian countries that we named in the last episode?
Yeah, I think I feel like Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, well, millions of tons of worthless plastic is dumped on the shore or riversides, and millions of tons of worthless plastic is entering the ocean every year.
There must be a connection.
I would think so.
Well, I know some people who do not want to see this connection. Stakeholders, I mean.
No?
We're going to have to tell the truth. Again.
Another annoying journalist telling the truth, eh?
At this point, we just wanted to demonstrate that what you see in the ocean is actually Western plastic waste as well. Not only Asian plastic waste. That's already a big statement.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear now.
In next episode, we're going to keep climbing upstream and start talking about what European industry and policymakers can do right now to face this reality.
It's now clear that this is where actions are needed.
Not in pretending we're going to help Asian countries fix their problem, help them implement better waste management, blah blah blah.
No, it's also about what's going on in our continent.
Elena, I forgot to tell you one detail.
Oh yeah? What's that?
Well, it's a little parameter we should take into account, I think.
Come on, tell me.
China, they don't want our plastic anymore.
What?
Millions of tons are going to stay at the Chinese border as of January 1st, 2018.
I'm sorry? Is this real?
Yeah, it's an official order. All that trash walk the dragon, as we say.
China has notified the World Trade Organization that it will ban the import of 24 different types of garbage,
including all the plastic crap we've been sending over there for years.
Really? I can't believe it.
Well, this is a huge shake on recycling markets.
I guess they're tired of being the trash pile of Western countries, maybe?
Maybe. So, That's something we're going to talk about in next episode.
Yeah, I bet.
And yeah, most importantly, what we can do about it, or what we should do about it.
How do you fight a dragon, right?
Coming soon on Green Exchange.
In the meantime, don't forget to sign up for our live talk show in Brussels on November 6th. Link in the episode notes.
And you can tell the truth to your neighbor about his yogurt tub floating in a Chinese river, but just make sure he keeps being a good citizen, because separating your waste at home is important.
Even if the system is still far from perfect.
Thanks again to Martin and everyone who is helping us with this series. Really, it means a lot. And we'll be back soon with more green knowledge, inspiration, and dragon moves. Keep up the good work in the meantime.